So maybe you've seen an article like this where there is the news about how people's Claude chats are publicly accessible online, and there's some wildly private stuff in there. And the concern here is that if you're typing anything into Claude, that some of that information may have leaked out or it's got into search engines somehow, and that the organization is to blame for this in terms of a data exposure that may have happened, which caused these chats to get onto Google. So what I'm going to do is take you through how these share links come to be and then how they can be then found through Google search or Yahoo search, or how they get into search engines for people to then find them. Let's take for an example, we start with Claude itself. So let's say we started a chat here and asked, what is the capital of France? Claude gives us a simple answer, Paris. Now we could continue on and have a full conversation in here, and maybe we put some private data that we're talking to Claude about and we want to share it. So we click share. This now pops up. I couldn't find for certain whether this has always existed or it just gave you a warning. I did know that it at least gave you a warning in general. Now by default, this keeps us as private here, but if we do want to create a share link, it has to be public. There's no choice of being locked down to a particular user account or user accounts that we want to share it to. So we can copy this link here, and then now we can open up another tab. We can paste this link, this will bring us back to here, and this is public. Now the reason that it's getting indexed into a Google search where people can then find it is if this link is then being posted to forums or in social media posts, and then it's being shared. And what Google does regularly is it goes out and crawls for different URLs that it's trying to find, and it can be added in. This URL structure of Claude.ai share, and then now this is a GUID, which is a globally unique identifier. If I'm trying to look for these URLs that are shared and look for data that's maybe not indexed in Google, what I can do is just guess these random numbers and random strings and try and find stuff that's exposed publicly. So I could change this E to, say, an F, and conversation not found. So this GUID might be associated with a conversation, but it's not publicly accessible. So I'm not able to find it. Programmatically, we can run through this tens of thousands of times and see if we get returned a true conversation or just look for a conversation not found. And this is how you would find it. So there is two ways of finding these URLs, either if they've been indexed by Google, or someone could go through and programmatically try and find these URLs through a technique that's called fuzzing. And that's just guessing random identifiers here because we know the structure of them. This isn't unique to Claude. This is actually in all cloud services, and I want to show an example with Google Drive. Google Drive does have some more security features in here in that we can share the links in a way that only the people we give access to will have access to the data that we're sending. That I'll show here. So this is a guide that I wrote that's coming out soon, and I can click share. Now, anyone with the link can be a viewer. I can also give them comment or edit status, so there's a lot more flexibility here. And I can copy this link. Now, the same thing applies. If I go and paste this on a forum or into a social media post, this same guide is then exposed to everyone. This structure is very similar if we notice. It's not a GUID in itself, but there is a random string here and we've got view. So a person who was looking for these files that might be exposed could look for drive file with this D and then randomly go through different kind of strings here. Now this may be a lot harder because it's not in a structure that is similar to the GUID, so we're testing a lot more values. And we're not really sure how long this string can be either, so that also throws us off. But this link for now is publicly accessible. If I want to go back, I can now change this to restricted, and the access is now updated. So general access is down. I can copy this link again, and I can send it to people that I only want to give access to. So if I send them this link now, instead of just getting access to the document, it'll actually create a request for me to approve them to access the space. Or I could go through and give them access. So this is one of my other accounts. I can say, oh, I want Alex to have viewer access to the link. I can send them a message. I can either send them the link or send this, and they'll be able to access that document. Now, the final thing to talk about is when we're sharing these links with people that we trust, and that we still need to be cautious about the data that we're sending. Let's say that we did create this share link in Claude, and we copied this link and we weren't posting it into a forum and we weren't posting it on a social media post, which means that it's not going to be indexed into Google. But we are sharing this with someone that we think we trust. If they were to have their data compromised, or they were to then go and post that link into a forum, your data is still exposed because it's connected to a public open-facing link. The key takeaways to this is that you need to make sure you're protecting your own data and that you're not sharing anything personal that you wouldn't expect to get exposed in a data breach online. There is a level of trust that we're putting into these companies to protect our data. The functionality for the share link hasn't changed in terms of it being a vulnerability or it's the data exposure, but we should all be cautious of what we're sharing into these kind of platforms. If you do have any more questions on this or how it works, please feel free to comment on this video or reach out to me personally via LinkedIn or on YouTube. And you can also find me at alex@insiderthreatguide.com. You can send me an email there to ask more questions. Hopefully this has helped you understand how these features work and how your data can be and should be protected by yourself, and you know how you should be cautious around creating and sharing these kind of links.